Well, I've got about 2 minutes past the top of the hour, so I don't want to take too much of Ryan's time and the Mission Design and Automation team. Again, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're sitting. Just want to take a minute to welcome everyone to InstaMM's Alliance Partner Lunch and Learn session today. Obviously, this is with Mission Design and Automation. I'm your host for today, Jamie White. I'm a Senior Director here with the Huntsville office. Today's presentation really is focusing on offering insights to launching an automation strategy for long-term success, if you will, in defense manufacturing. So as mentioned, we're joined today by Mr. Ryan Lillibridge, who is a Vice President at Mission Design Automation, and I believe Ms. Sammy Birch may also join us. Sammy serves as the Director of Marketing Communications. So don't want to steal too much of Ryan's thunder. Today he'll be discussing, got a hot mic there. Oh, thank you. Discussing something that I think all of us know a little bit about, seeking to learn more about, is improving manufacturing by integrating automation, elevating your operations, reducing waste, improving quality, and really ultimately as a goal, continue to support the warfighter. Just a quick note of background, how this came about. Sammy and I first met, I guess it was earlier this year, through an AMT TIC meeting up at the FANUC headquarters. Just getting to know Sammy, realizing the synergies, in the mission space for MDA, and InstaMM, we started exploring the path of becoming an alliance partner. Ultimately, it was approved, thankfully. So now, as we usually do, we're really seeking to collaborate with them, learn more about their business, their operations, their capability, and pursue any opportunities we can jointly. Me personally, just to note, great example in the value of participating in external organizations, committees, meeting new folks. I think both organizations see an opportunity here to really, use automation in support of our missions. So bit of background on Ryan, if I may. Ryan serves as Vice President at Mission Design Automation with over 20 years in the automation and advanced manufacturing space. Ryan has held many engineering roles focused on the applications, cost and process development, business development, and certainly organizational leadership. Throughout his career, Ryan has been instrumental in helping multiple industrial automation companies achieve record growth, supporting his manufacturing customers to do the same. Very passionate about employee development and finding the best way to solve difficult challenges. Ryan holds a dual degree in mechanical engineering and product development manufacturing from Grand Valley State University. He leads with a solutions-oriented mindset and resides in West Michigan with his 3 sons. So I would encourage everyone, please engage, ask questions, be conversational. That's the intent of this brief. And I think the format of the Lunch and Learn webinar series, don't hesitate to ask Ryan the hard questions. It's a learning opportunity for all parties. So with that, I'll pause for just a moment. I know I saw Mr. Jim Fisher. Jim, not to put you on the spot, sir, but as our senior leadership, I thought if you had an opening comment or two, I would turn the floor over to you briefly, sir.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate everyone joining today. Obviously, this is an opportunity to learn, as Jamie mentioned, and get to understand mission design and automation a little bit better. So we're looking forward to hearing from the team here. And as Jamie mentioned, please don't hold back any comments. It's really an information sharing session. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Appreciate your time as well. As always, we'll have a Q&A session towards the end. Reserve about 10, 15 minutes, whatever it takes. But please do engage. Ryan, I will be quiet now, sir, and I will turn it over to you. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that, Jamie. No need to be quiet in this. The dialogue is much more appreciated than me listening to myself talk about a presentation. So if you have questions at any point in time, please feel free to jump in, ask those questions just straight away. There's probably ways to raise your hand and things, but I'd rather you just jump in and ask the questions as they pop up. Or if you're thinking about something or concerned about something as regards to automation or in defense, please feel free to jump in. Same for you, Jamie. So appreciate that introduction. And obviously none of this would be possible if you and Sammy hadn't met and she hadn't coordinated the whole thing. So really kudos out to her and you. So thank you for that. So I'll get started here in the process. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Automation Integrator, but I want to talk through kind of how we get started with that and really how to bring defense manufacturing operations into today's advanced manufacturing age. I just came off of GVSET show in Novi last week, and lots of great discussions on how to improve manufacturing, how to bolster the supply chain to our warfighters, and improve that quality and speed of implementation in that space. So very good conference there, and really just a good dialogue within the defense space on how to improve here. So I think timing is right, and it's start now. So we'll jump into some of that and talk about ways that you can do that and where we see Mission bringing some advantage to that. So Mission Design Automation, we build custom automation manufacturing solutions. I'll talk in detail a little bit more about what that means coming up here. Want to tell you a little bit about our company. I feel like obligatory. I have to show that we have a building and we have people, because that's what makes up our organization and lends us some credibility. But we do custom processes and equipment solutions to simplify automation, essentially focusing a lot of qualified or pre-qualified processes to improve quality, repeatability, and traceability. I know within this space, often like medical and food as well, there's lots of regulations that are built in place, systems in place for work instructions maybe that have been in place for many years. And sometimes it's easier to set up a manufacturing process in compliance with those pre-qualified systems to launch into the space, or to essentially having to change that documentation can be more of a lift than doing some mid-range, small range, or high range automation cells. So we look to work with you on that process and innovate around that and put stuff in place for success. Mission's been around for 21 years. We have 85,000 square feet. We're located in Holland, Michigan. We got about 160 employees, and we focus heavily on the engineering side. A lot of what we do is custom. It is tailored to what your manufacturing needs and what your outputs are. So we want to listen to you. We'll probably listen and ask more questions, and we will talk and provide answers, because we really want to understand your business and how to accommodate and supplement that business with the right tools and equipment. We maintain an internal CNC shop for quick turnaround. If you have anything, Jamie and I were talking the other day about how he had to get his truck fixed. Anything mechanical at some point in time will need some fix or change. We keep an internal department and a service team available for those quick turnarounds to make sure that the manufacturing floor keeps running. Our project management team is well seasoned. That's very important. You know that on time, on budget is very important. And this team follows our ISO 9001 process internally here, or our QMS process, to make sure that we're hitting our milestones and delivering on time. Below, you see a list of our partners. I'll jump into a few more details on some of that, but UL 508A is essentially, we're certified to do high quality electrical panels to that specification. A number of our suppliers recognize us as strong partners. We're a certified service provider for FANUC Robotics, if you're familiar with them. That puts us in the top 4% of integrators within the FANUC realm. So takes a lot of work to get that, master certifications and other steps and processes to be recognized that way. Rockwell Automation recognizes us. We work tightly with 3M on bonding processes. So if you're doing any joining processes, we have a strong partnership with them and access to their lab. Universal Robotics, and then we have a couple other memberships as well. We strive to take care of our employees often. What we have here is our team members, and at any point in time they can walk out the door, and that's our most valuable asset, is our team. So you can see the Detroit Free Press Workplace of the Year. We focus on that workplace culture and really trying to develop a team that wants to work together and also work closely with you. From the defense standpoint, we are ITAR compliant. We're DFARS compliant as well. I was going to read all those numbers, but I'll skip them. CMMC, I'm sure a number of you are in this process, maybe through this process or in the start of it. We're moving through that process. We've done some of our NIST qualifiers to do assessments and continue to step through that process to ensure we handle defense data with integrity. We're a partner with the NCDMM, so we're excited to be doing this today, and then NAMC member as well. Really essentially says that we're going to handle your information and the ITAR stuff safely and within the regulations we need to. Any questions so far?
Ryan, I do have one if I may for just a second. And we talked a little bit about this the other day. I know we've spoken several times, multi-station versus single op, if you will.
Mhm.
From your company's perspective, what are you seeing percentage wise? More of your support, your deployments, what does that look like? More single op solutions, or is it multi-station, or a mixture, I would presume?
Yeah, it's a good question, Jamie. I'm sure there's a slide down here where we hit on it. I'll just jump to those pictures because I do like to jump around.
Sure.
So you kind of see Jamie's asking about multi-station, single station. Here's a couple pictures I'll get into a little bit later, but we're going to see different scale of that. So sometimes you're in the low volume production where you have operators manufacturing for you, and what you're looking for is a better quality tracking and traceability. So they're taking screws and they're driving those screws into positions. Maybe it's adding a torque driver that reads the torque and the angle of the screw, so you know you've driven the screw to the right position. And then maybe you follow up with a vision inspection that documents that all the screws were in the right place, as well as a screw counter to make sure they didn't lose a screw within the within the inside of that electronics assembly or whatever it may be. So you're trying to reduce that FOD occurrence. So it could be a single standalone station. Perhaps you're working with much larger parts. Maybe you're in the 500-pound or 3,000-pound range, and the parts are getting much more sizable, and you're more concerned around injury or lift concerns and handling concerns. So sometimes it's material handling and transfer systems that are going to move that product through a number of workstations. So more of a semi-automated. And then some of our customers, when you get into high volume, those will be fully automated, almost lights out to the point where parts and components are feeding into the line themselves. Someone is loading those hoppers and the machine is assembling and doing quality checks as it progresses and parts are coming out of the end. And if you want, even those parts will get packed into a box. I've got a line on my floor doing packaging as well. Puts them in the carton goes in the case goes on a pallet gets shrink wrapped, and then it goes to the truck after that. So good question, Jamie. I would say in defense sector and aerospace, usually our volumes aren't as high where we're doing the fully lights out, full automation, heavily robotics. It's usually
Right.
a mix where you see maybe the example on the left here where you have a robot that someone is handling parts to, and you're doing that because it creates a consistent, repeatable process, and you know you can deliver quality, and it also allows you to scale.
Mhm.
So some reasons you might do that would be when the government's going to come in and do their audit on your process, it's pretty straightforward to talk through how your process is repeatable at that point versus talking through maybe how operators may have a different discretion on what they're doing with that part.
Right. Right. Okay. No, that helps tremendously. And I'm just curious, how far is your reach, if you will? Where are you geographically deploying some of your systems? Any examples of
Yeah.
interest, maybe?
Yeah, we deploy within North America
Okay.
for the most part. So we've got systems in Canada and Mexico. There are some systems that we are deploying at scale kind of globally. I would
Mhm.
say those have developed into a product at this point.
Okay.
So some of our engineering that we do does move into product development. So on these ones I'm specifically talking about, we have them going to Europe, we have them going to Australia, India, Brazil, really globally with these, but they were developed through an engineering process. We did an alpha system, then a beta system, then a version 3, each one of those stepping through a different qualifier. And now that's to the point where it's a UL certified product, and that product is being deployed and manufactured by us in quantity, within the hundreds range, multiple hundreds being deployed because we found the right solution. So,
Okay. Great. No, that's helpful. I was curious. It's something I've been meaning to ask for some time and never thought to. So sorry to jump around in the presentation, but thanks for that insight.
yeah, no, I prefer it.
Sure.
So if there's any other questions, feel free to jump in. If not, I'll get back to the regular scheduled programming here. Core competencies you're going to see within the automation space is robotics integration, material handling and assembly. So I talked about that a little bit. Sometimes it's heavy parts, sometimes it's just walking time. I don't want my operators walking from station to station. So how do I move that component easily and potentially do value add along the way. Automated dispensing is another good area that we spend a good amount of time on, looking at multiple different dispense technologies, whether that be 1K or 2K, RTVs, epoxies, sealants, hot melts, all kinds of different adhesives. And a lot of times the reason being is people have a different perception on how much they want, right? So I've got to put a phase seal in or a fillet seal in on this process, and more is better. Is what some people think, but if you're going for lightweight, more isn't always better. Or sometimes those processes don't lend themselves to additional material. If you don't have enough, it's not going to work. So really regulating the amount dispensed can be important. Ensuring that you don't have bubbles if you're doing a potting process, or if you're dispensing, you need good adhesion, doing a surface treatment of some sort can be automated as well. Those are hard to tell if it's been done. If you're using isopropyl alcohol or a plasma treat, it's not a visible treatment you can see. The IPA evaporates off and the plasma doesn't really leave a trace behind. You have to use dyeing pens. So different things like that just to ensure quality. In that quality aspect, we're looking at metrology devices, vision systems, and integration to verify that steps or processes have been completed. And that can be from looking for weld beads, our weld beads to the right fill rate, keyhole inspection if you're getting into welding on the fly, to just part presence inspection. Are all the parts there? Is there nothing extra? Those kind of things. And then making that traceable and tracking that data to an MES or a recordable place so you can easily pull that information. I kind of talked about our engineering heaviness, where we have a mechanical and controls design team focused on custom turnkey automation systems. And then we're familiar with both high mix, low volume applications, or low mix, high volume. I touched on some of that as well. Often it's hard to justify your ROI across a single SKU. And if you're looking to do that, sometimes we can amortize that capital across the multiple SKUs if we can use it. Jim, did I see a question? You raised your hand, man.
You're on mute, Jim.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man.
Thanks, Ryan. I was curious, do you guys deal very often with distributed systems? I guess specifically I'm thinking about if there are multiple production facilities that are spread out geographically, or maybe process monitoring they might want it to occur at one headquarters location. Do you ever get into that?
Sure. I think what are you referring to the data or the hardware there?
The data.
Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about MES and Industry 4.0 tie-in and integration. Our team we're creating the hardware and the edge devices, and we can talk through what manufacturing information is valuable to you. We have some pretty strong partners, whether you're using Rockwell Factory Talk or if you're using Ignition, whatever system you might be using, we'll build the bridges to those systems. But if you're looking at like a corporate deployment of a MES system, we'll probably find a partner we'd refer to do that IT and infrastructure setup that way. But we'd ensure that the machines and the equipment we're putting in would be able to talk to that. And also consider the security that you need for that. So that's where we would come in, is what sensors capture the right data. How do we pull that data into the local level on the machine? And then how do we make that data either push out to the AWS or the warehouse management system, MES, all those different acronyms? How do we communicate that necessary information to the right places so that you have not only plant visibility, usually your plant manager is looking at P&L for that facility or that plant, and they want to see certain metrics coming out of that. Whereas at corporate, maybe you're looking for just overall capacity across your network and performance or OEE. So we can help generate that information for you. To answer the question, Jim?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, happy to connect with you on that further. Where to begin? I'm going to jump into some good spots to start. So If you know you need to improve, but you're not quite sure where, maybe you don't have an engineer on your team experience with automation equipment or with equipment in general. Sometimes you're looking at manufacturing and your main focus is that manufacturing and parts out the door, and finding or building your own engineering team may not make sense for your organization. So that's where we can come in with our engineering team. We typically will consult for free at the beginning. So we'll step in, have a few phone calls, understand your problem statement, pull a few engineers that have been doing this for 10, 20 years to kick around some ideas with you and understand your process. And that can really get us a good jump start into where the dollars may be most valuable for you. You're not sure what's even available or possible with automation. The question earlier was, standalone or fully automated. There's a very large range of solutions, and picking the right tool is important. If you don't have someone to kind of Sherpa you through that or mentor you through that process, you might get sold more than you need or not enough. So understanding what you're looking for example, if you're looking for MES and data roll up to your organization, you're going to want to set up your PLCs and your control structure on that localized machine correctly to handle the tags and the information and the data that you need there. So it's really talking through that process, and we can show you what the available solutions are across that range. Your team is valuable to you, but you've heard robots may take away the jobs. Just another conversation here that comes up often, and it's a cultural thing that can happen with an organization. If you talk about bringing in automation, typically, and you're going to get resistance to change often, right? So we'll help talk through that change with you, understand that often your team's valuable time is not in the monotonous tasks that can be done very well by an automation system or a robot and repeatably, and you could get more value out of that team member if they're attending to the robot, packaging parts, doing a visual inspection on another part, than you would if they were trying to clean up the adhesive that maybe they spilled and those kind of things. So there's a lot of opportunity to upskill your team, allow them to manage that hardware and tend to multiple systems and not have to displace your team. You produce batch-based parts and believe your volume is too low to justify the cost of automation. I kind of touched on this a little bit. I think one of the things we see here is a lot of automation over the years in automotive, with automotive focus, has been you have high volume and you can justify a custom piece of equipment across that same part production. When you're doing 1 million parts or 500,000 parts, you can start to distribute that cost. If you're looking at 5,000 parts or 10,000 parts, becomes a little bit different type of ROI to roll that up into your piece price. So how we look at that often is the high mix, low volume solutions that we come up with. I'll talk about a case study coming up here and address a little bit of how we do that. So it's flexibility on how we program it. It can be 3D printed nests to allow you to add new parts and components to spread that capital expenditure across maybe multiple SKUs that you're going to produce, or quickly program new SKUs that come in. So if you're batch based, you can program the new one and then be up and running, and maybe you're making 1,000 of those parts and then moving on to the next one. Any questions on that? We'll get another one. You're in the weeds of the day-to-day production and you don't have time to figure out the future. This is often what I see too in our space, is conversations around, man, I'm so into the day-to-day happenings of making sure I've got supply chain parts coming in the door and making sure they're going out the door, and I got a quality thing happening over here, and I'm looking to my temp labor maybe didn't make it in today, so I'm trying to fill the line with 20 bodies and I need 25, and just have to focus on that day to day, which is a real thing, and not sure where to start or how to start. So that's another spot where we can come in and help alleviate some of that. Do an automation walkthrough assessment is often what we call it, where we'll walk through your facility, put together a report, and talk through what might be valuable to you.
Ryan, one other question, if I may, real quick. There are a couple of those bullets talking about experience, having a team with experience, I should say, in automation. And from a customer perspective, perhaps, your team is valuable. You don't want to lose jobs. I was just curious. We obviously have interest in workforce development. From your perspective, as you talk to people in industry that are seeking these solutions, what are some of the kind of the top level trends or thoughts you're seeing on the need for an automation and robotics workforce development across the board? Is that pervasive conversation, pervasive issue, or is it somewhat unique in some ways? How do y'all see that from your perspective?
Yeah, I think what we see is it's a necessity to do some training. Some of our systems we've tried to make very easy to use, almost like your smartphone easy. The one I'll talk about was, we call it the Buddy system, but with that system, I've had grade schoolers come through for tours that we bring in on a bus to bankers, and they've been able to program that one. So some of what we're trying to do is lower the barrier to entry.
Right.
That's a pretty base level system. When you step into some of our more complex systems, it is going to require training, and we typically offer that training on our systems as well as robotics classes here. But one thing that is occurring is the STEM and the robotics programs, the FIRST Robotics, are training that future workforce. So if you're looking to hire, often now coming out of even high school, you're going to have people with coding and programming and robotics backgrounds, or they may have 3 to 4 years through the Lego program, through the FIRST Robotics program. 3 to 4 years of experience. Granted, it's not quite as at the level that we're doing, but that's a very good head start.
Sure.
And then I think for workforce development, we've often seen when customers add some automation or robotics into the system, it's actually easier for them to hire people, because they're letting them know that they can come in and work with new technology, and it shows that the company is investing in the future, and people want to work where they see that investment.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. We've seen similar issues, or myself and others, I'm sure, but good to know there's support there in that area. Jim, I see you got your hand raised, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan. One bullet I don't see on this slide here, and maybe you'll be talking about it a little bit later, but something we hear about quite a bit is concern over safety of robotics in vicinity of folks or humans. How do you guys address that? Do you typically gate things off, or do you have sensors, or have you done any programs where a human and a robot are working almost like a cobot, or a situation that, are working hand in hand?
Yeah, we definitely, safety is number one whenever we're doing a system. So how we handle that is we follow the A3, you probably saw a logo a little earlier. There's a standard board and standard set of risk assessments that are applied to any robotic cell. So anytime something goes through here, we're going to go through that risk assessment process and make sure we comply with those standards. So that's how we handle it here. Depending on the system, that can be hard guard and light curtains or area scanners. For cobots, they now assess them as collaborative applications. We've seen a couple retrofits we're doing just for safety for some of our customers who have purchased cobot systems that were not safe, handling sheet metal. So very thin gauge sheet metal, and the cobot was moving that around, and a customer called us and said, hey, can you come in and check this out? And it wasn't safe, right? The cobot by itself would be safe, but when you put a razor blade or sheet metal in the end of it, it's not a safe application. So our team comes in and we'll make things safe. But there's a lot of scenarios, right, where safety's top of mind, and a number of different tools we use to ensure that.
Thank you.
And then anyone not familiar with automation safety, typically all that stuff runs through its own safety circuit. All that's redundant. So it's special safety modules. There's redundancy in all that safety stuff, just in case something fails. Every time the machine cycles, it's checking those. So there's built-in steps along the way to ensure that as well.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Any other questions on some of this, or any things that, any other concerns that aren't on the list that I should be considering? All right, moving on. So what should you do? course. Call us. Alberto. All right, man. What you got?
I think Alberto may
Alberto,
be
you're on mute.
Yeah. See if I can unmute him. Nope. Can't manually unmute you, Alberto.
Alberto, if you want to put your question in the chat too, that would work.
Go ahead, Ryan, if you want. We'll try to get his question in the chat, or
Keep
maybe we can
moving,
circle.
and we'll catch up on that one if there's a question there. Want to touch on how integrators help with defense manufacturing. Try to touch on some of this along the way. Essentially, what is a systems integrator? So Mission Design is a team of applications design, controls engineers, builders, electricians. It's a full team that handles turnkey equipment production. We look for the right tools in the industry, and we bring those together to create a system for you. So much like an architect turns ideas into buildings, we turn processes into high-performing stations and machines. In the background here, you see some milling machines, a FANUC robot in the system, and then a end-of-arm tool handling processes. So this product did go into defense. We were vision picking with that robot and then loading into the CNCs and then packing that part out. But what you see there is different pieces coming together to make a full turnkey system. And that's what we do. We engineer those different parts. So building the bridges from the end-of-arm tool, selecting the right robot, selecting the right mills, selecting the right vision system, to allow the customer to come in with a fork truck, set down a pallet of goods, go pick up a full pallet of processed goods, and move on. So this handles that whole process through that. So we'd partner with your team, understand what you're looking for, what your goals are for the process or performance, walk through understanding the opportunities for you and how we make those fit with any pre-qualified work instructions that you may have or quality requirements. Essentially, we step through and generate a concept at the beginning. So we'll show you some different ideas, talk about if that's what you're looking for, or if we think it will work and achieve what you need. And then we work with partners in different areas to get the right tools and components in place.
Ron, I don't know if you can see, there is a Q&A section on this call. Did you see Alberto's question was posted?
Is it within the chat?
No, sir, it's Q&A. I'll read it out. It says, perhaps already covered, do you have applications or have you worked before with garment manufacturing? G-A-R-M-E-N-T, garment, by the way.
Yeah, garment manufacturing, depending what you're doing, we have some experience in, but I always like to look at those because garments can present challenges that we'd want to talk through. So we got a couple where we're looking at doing tape application for seams. So rather than sewing seams, taping seams. So Alberto, I'm not sure exactly what your application's looking for. Sometimes it's just picking and sorting inventory into different locations in the facility, but happy to talk through that.
Ben, I saw you had your hand up first, sir, and then I think Alberto's got a follow-on. Go ahead, Ben.
We can let Alberto go first. Go ahead, Alberto.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry, I had a hard time trying to find the mic button. Yes, the question was just regarding to the garment manufacturing system. We do uniforms for the Department of Defense. So
okay.
Just wondering if you have any experience on the sewing process or on the handling process from one station to another.
I do in my past, looking at a couple different applications. So if we were to dive into that a little bit deeper, and then I've also looked into some different stitch patterns, believe it or not, for sewing, but I imagine you have those specified and figured out. So happy to kind of look at that with you, Alberto, in detail and let you know if we'd be able to help with your process as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ben, you had a question?
Yeah, so mine was actually on the previous slide, and I'm coming
Okay.
at it more from the, I'll say, additive manufacturing background. Even I do have a lot of machining and other types of manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking around adaptive manufacturing, and I'm just curious if you're familiar with that, and what are some of the bigger barriers that you've seen with integration, systems integration? Is it, is it communication? Is it data standards or something else? What are you seeing at the system integration level, especially when we're talking about adaptive manufacturing?
Yeah, and I guess I'll ask if you can give a little more clarity on what you mean by adaptive, because I've heard a few
Yeah,
different definitions in the past number of weeks on that, and I want to make sure I'm addressing it correctly.
yeah, and I think we're evolving as well on that.
Mhm.
I'm using maybe convergent manufacturing where, what you're showing here, right? You have a robot that's interacting with a 5-axis mill, or in this case, I don't know, a turning center or something.
Yeah,
You have a 3D printer, maybe you have a joining cell, you have a painting cell. I've even seen it now where it's a whole separate line that's focused on, automating testing and things like that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if you're not completely vertically integrated and you don't have all the same machines and the same languages, and it seems like it's not as simple to plug and play all these different types of systems. So I'm
Yeah,
just
and I will.
curious what barriers remain, or what are some of the major hurdles over the next 5 years
Sure.
in
I
that
mean,
system integration level.
a lot of the hurdles you hear, some of them Jamie touched on, are skills within the organization to operate this type of equipment. Interoperability is another one that we hear often. So, for example, just within this picture, we're going to have the robot's going to have a program that lives and resides in the robot. That's going to communicate to a PLC. The PLC is then going to communicate with the CNC machines, and CNC machines will run off a different platform called G-code.
Mhm.
So just in a quick conversation, I didn't get into the vision system that's using another customer's software. Just within this photo, we're talking about multiple handoffs, multiple programs and communications that need to happen. But that's what our team does very well. That's why we're a systems integrator. Is we're taking all those different systems. We're going to roll all that communication to a single point, or a single human interface. We call it HMI, human machine interface, where all the functions that you need to run production are presented there. You're not going to dive into the diagnostics of the Haas VF5 in the background there within the HMI. You'd have to get onto that by itself. But our goal is that you don't need to go to that level when we're done. But yeah, that is definitely getting everything talking and communicating is still one of the reasons we exist as an organization, to tie all that together. From a process standpoint, Ben, I think walking through those different steps and processes, we often start to look upstream and downstream on this. This one, for example, they were saw cutting the product ahead of time, and then we were cleaning and washing afterwards. So just defining what we do and what gets added in, we ended up with, hey, let's do that blow off process here so that the parts are clean and ready to pack out upon completion here. So sometimes we grab upstream or downstream. We've got other examples where we're doing in-process quality checks for soldered joints and straightness. So sometimes you build your quality system into the process. So do a step, value add, check the step. That way, if you have anything that happens along the way, you pause on your value add. Did I answer what you're looking for on that, or?
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, and you're right. The vision, all the other tools as well. I'm more so, from your team and kind of helping people with that. I'm thinking about the DoD or our customers, right? Where getting one machine or two machines to communicate is hard, and how do we maybe think about outside the box of 25 systems or whatever that total number is. I don't know, but yeah, anyway, I think you answered it well enough. Something
Okay.
I'm thinking about, but appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, good question. We're often tying together, I don't know the count on some of the machines we do, but I can look out the window here and see 20 robots in a line with cameras and different things on them. So definitely proficient in doing that and tying multiple things together. I think couple other questions. I don't know who was first on that.
I think Alberto might have had a follow-up, Ryan, and then Mr. George Barnage and Mr. Gino Spinos as well. So,
Okay.
Alberto, did you just have your hand still up? Are you good, sir?
The answer was, I mean, I already had the answer with what you just mentioned. Thank you.
Great. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I was answered. Thank you.
Go ahead, George, if you will.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jamie. Appreciate it. Hey, couple quick questions. One, I noticed you had mentioned integrating in through a PLC, trying to connect the various systems outside of the separate security PLC system. Are you finding that PCs are maybe more useful in that area, since the limitations of PLCs with regard to all the different interfaces that you probably got to have in order to get 5, 6, or 10 pieces of machinery to talk together? You know what I mean? Because they usually use different protocol types and all that stuff.
Yeah, we use both tools, George. So I think PLCs are incredibly robust for manufacturing processes and stepping through. So they're very well trusted in that area. And a lot of the industrial stuff that we're using communicates well with it. So often we do have that in there, and the safety is often integrated into that PLC. So we're purchasing a safety PLC. When we do get into different IPCs or industrial personal computers, industrial PCs. So we will use IPCs for different protocols, or if we start layering some AI vision into the systems where we need different processing parameters or different communication parameters. So then we're constructing a bridge to that, whether it be a REST API out to that. But yeah, certain applications will have that industrial PC sometimes in the background running sub processes to the PLC, sometimes in the foreground managing calls. So if we're tied into an ignition system, it may be the ignition system that is stepping the PLCs through the process versus the other way around. So yeah, it's definitely a tool we know and we put in place when we need to.
No worries. That makes a lot of sense. And second quick question is here. How much or where do you think the business is going with no-code robotic platforms now, with AI and the large language models hitting hard and all the investments going in? The vision is that you no longer need to use the sort of CAD-based type stations with the different, you got to have a different software platform with each ABB or FANUC or whatever. You got to know the language and the tool. I mean, it's just like CAD, right? And now that they're supposedly where all this is going to go with the AI is basically somebody gets a cobot out of the box, starts talking to it, and it starts doing what it's supposed to do. How do you guys see that? I mean, it's probably God knows how many years out, but with as fast as technology ramps, right? It could be around the corner.
Yeah.
How does that affect your guys' business? And how do you guys see yourself morphing into that sort of if it goes in that direction, you're probably going to have to go in that direction, just like everybody has to bend to the AI god, right? So what do you think about that? I'm just kind of curious to see what you're seeing on the headwinds.
Yeah, I think in my realm where I've been hearing about machine learning and AI for quite a while. There are some robust products that we use currently that use AI within vision inspection that have made a lot of our processes quite a bit easier. I think macroeconomics within the US, we need a lot more manufacturing to come in place. I don't know that the labor force is there to support it. So that means that we need more automation, but also the labor and workforce and skill sets that we have coming through. I don't know that those also support what's necessary there. So I think the AI and those tools will evolve. As a matter of fact, I've been to a number of companies that are working on building skill sets for robots, and they've been working for the last 5 or 6 years on it intensely. These are Fortune 100 organizations with high VC backing and some of the smartest people I know churning on these ideas. Will they get there? I think so. They're not there right now. I was at a place the other week where they're training robots using VR goggles and Telelink as well. So I do think it's heading that direction. I do think it will get there. to put a time frame on that, I can't do that. I believe it will shift our manufacturing into a state where we can put more automation out into U.S. manufacturing that we actually need to put out there. So I think it will help facilitate that process.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity here because I think it takes, if you're going to move in that direction to sort of displace that function and make it easier for small manufacturers, to buy robots and try to use them for automation, without, inheriting a huge upfront investment, NRE investment that most of them won't make. I think it takes companies like you to work in those kinds of projects to make that happen. I mean, you either go along with the ride or you push against it. You know what I mean? I was just kind of curious to see where you sat on that side of the coin.
Yeah. I think we're open to it. We explore it. We try to understand it. But often it comes down to the process. I mean, the number of communications and conversations that we have with our customers and within our team to create a process that makes a good part sometimes is incredible. And then also you have people out there touching up robot points within a tolerance stack up to actually create a good part. And you have to do a small shift to the left and slide it to the right. And no one sees that until they're right next to the part putting it together. And that's the way you manufacture good parts coming out, and you lock that in and repeat it. So I think it will still come down to the product design for manufacturing, and then also those innate process steps that all of us that have done manufacturing know that come up and you discover along the way will still need that adjustment.
That's cool. I cede my time to Gino.
Hey, Gino, if I may, sir, and Ryan,
Yeah.
I know we're getting lots of great questions, which is what you want. I'm sensitive to the time. If you don't mind, I will put your contact information and Sammy's information into the chat. That way everybody has a title, phone, email. Okay, just want to make sure. Go ahead, Gino. Sorry about that, sir.
No, please continue. I'll throw my question into the chat. We can hit it later on if there's time.
Okay. I'll move quick because I like to get to the questions.
And Alex, sir, I think you had a question as well. Is that right? Just want to make sure we're tracking.
Yeah, I mean, it's going down business case. I think George took us down that path already. So I'll also, similar to Gino, if we don't get to it, I'll put it in chat. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. I kind of touched on this on one of the questions, I think, but how can semi-automated workstations support your process? You're at high volume. It's really building in flexibility to support multiple part types. Those adaptive solutions. This dispense buddy that we're showing here is a way to kind of lower that skills gap or skills need for programming, and makes it very easy to deploy and adjust for redeploying those tools. And then you often can add that data tracking into the process. I'm going to show a video here. What you're going to see is an Akuma CNC. And the goal of this was some lights out processing. So you'll see a carousel on the front end. It's going to go through a lathe process. Following that, we're going to do some metrology. We're going to pick the correct size bearing race. We're going to press that bearing race to a force and a distance to ensure that it's properly installed. And then we're going to go to some optical micrometers to read both the overall diameter and make sure the bearing race didn't deform the part more than necessary, and check the thread pitch. From there, it goes into a good or no good location and carousel on the back end. So I'll let this play, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm going to keep moving because I want to get to questions, but that one is essentially doing value add after a machining process. The company was using air gauges prior to that and had no data feedback. So now we're doing metrology. We can do feedback on the metrology and then closed loop to that CNC if we need to adjust machining process as tool wear occurs. I'm going to run through this case study. This is a smaller system. This customer was aerospace customer doing MRO, so maintenance and repair on their systems. They had a number of different parts, typically smaller batches where they need to apply paste to that and a few different components. So we worked through that process with them, developed a few different nest fixtures that you can see here. We put a prox ID or proximity ID. Another way might be say a binary ID to identify what nest was there. That would then trigger the right program so the operator didn't have to worry about what program was running. And then we dispense onto that part. So what they got out of this was higher quality dispense, lower failure rates, traceability, better usage of their material, so not over or underfill, and very small training so they can deploy this as they ramp up and scale, because MRO continues to grow in their business as they try to maintain their fleet over so many years. And then refocusing some of their personnel to other value add tasks within that MRO space. There's a lot of uniqueness that can come in that operators are very good at handling. So this takes that maybe 80-20 approach where a lot of the volume can be run through here, but the unique cases are still handled by the operator. I mentioned a service team. One of the things that's important is to keep your equipment and your automation running. We have a team that does that. I've talked about a certified service provider for FANUC, but we also provide training, equipment audits, repair, modifications, cycle time improvements as well. We understand that you owning a piece of equipment doesn't stop when we leave. You still own it and you still need to make good parts. So we're here to support that process with 24/7 support. How to get started. We've talked a little bit about this, but talk with us, ask questions. We can come in and evaluate those opportunities. Often recommend, if you haven't done it before, let's find some small base hits or small wins. Small quality check, something that reduces scrap or gives you data on how to better adjust your process. Workbench or assist stations that make operators' jobs easier. Sometimes that's lift assist for heavy components and ergonomics, and automatic CNC tending, those kind of things. So don't try to do everything at one time. We can set it up so you build the scale. Jamie, I kind of hit on these different size systems earlier for automation. And appreciate the time, and you can get in touch with me here. But I wanted to leave some time here yet for questions. So if we want to jump into those, I think this is the last one. Yeah, we're to questions.
All right, Alex, Gino, did y'all want to revisit y'all's? I know David has got a question there in the chat as well. So we got about 4 minutes thereabouts.
Yeah, sure. This is Gino. Thanks for the brief. Appreciate it. Good briefing. I also have my questions in the chat, but curious if you could. I don't know if it's which one's quicker. I have two questions. I'll state them both, whichever one you think you can answer. Who are your main and/or maybe your common competition that you see out there, and what sets you all apart from your competition? And then the next question is, if you can give us a ballpark percentage of how your projects are focused and kind of broken down from small scale, large scale, pilot scale efforts to scale up efforts, or maybe something different than that.
Sure. There's a lot of good integrators out there, so I'm not going to say anything bad about the different integrators out there. I will say we've got probably the largest controls team with an integrator of our size, with an average tenure of 11 years within that team. And what makes a system work is having that strong programming and that backbone, as well as experience on process. So we have a lot of seniority in our organization that's been doing this for many years. And I think they'll help guide and understand how to get to your expectations very well. So I would say that's probably one of our largest differentiators. It's just that skill set. From a project standpoint, man, that's hard to qualify because it changes year over year, and we are pretty open as an organization on what we tackle because we believe it makes us better. So I've had everything from things growing lettuce indoors to handling beef jerky to manufacturing automotive parts, laser soldering to defense operations. We really see a lot of different markets, and some of those are development processes where we're early in the design phase on the product and we're making adjustments. I've got one right now where we're talking about battery production for energy storage and how to better produce that product, and they're in the design phase on their product. So there's some changes for manufacturing that we're consulting on, as well as addressing what the equipment could look like for manufacturing. So some of those are very early in the process. Other ones are, there's a specification developed, it's pretty mature, and we're repeating a process that we've done 3 times over the last 4 years for a customer, where the product changes slightly. They're saying we need another one, and we're moving those through the process. So hopefully that gives a little clarity to it and helps answer that.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Any others before we wrap up?
David, sir.
And I know at the top of the hour, I just put one in the chat specifically around business case, right? So access to capital, right? Respectively, capital investments can be a barrier to drive automation. I used to run a plant, so fully understand the challenges around some of what you shared earlier, right? I'm curious what you have then with best practices, right? Either resources that folks can pull from or pull on, or alternatively what you've seen in your deployment, right, of solutions.
Sure. And some of that is, can you get access to capital? We have a number of different lenders that we'll recommend to customers that are open to doing that process with them, stepping through and providing capital to customers. Other times it's, I have capital, just not as much as I'd like. So then it's right sizing the solution to provide the most value for what you have. Jamie, I'll let you take it from here if there's a wrap up.
I think we're at the top, but I'm going to pause. Jim Fisher has a question. Sir, go ahead.
Well, less of a question. I just want to make a comment because obviously we had a lot of great interactions. So kudos to you, Ryan, for a great presentation and all the great interaction. There's a lot of actual other partners on the call too. So some of our partners got to listen in. So the other thing I want to mention is I would encourage everyone to go out and check out and use our new Alliance Partner Portal, where you guys can post information. You can see information that NCDMM folks are posting. You can join certain forums. You can check for other partner capabilities. There could be potential teaming operations. So since there are so many external partners, I wanted to mention that. Please go out to our portal, post your information out there, see if connections can be made, and use it to your advantage. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, and Jim, I would second that approach. Often it is us helping with a solution, but other times we're just connecting people within our network to find the right solution. So network away and find the right connections, and sometimes that's where the answer is for you.
Well, all right. Ryan, I'll definitely echo Jim's comments. Thanks so much to yourself and Sammy, the full Mission Design team. Thanks to my colleagues for joining today, our external partners. Great to have you. Contact information's on the screen. I dropped it in the chat. I don't want to speak for you, Ryan, but I'm sure you'd welcome follow-on conversations and calls and emails. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I encourage folks to do that. So, and if I can help in any way to anyone, feel free to reach for me as well. And anything else from your side, Ryan, before we close?
No, just appreciate you hosting and setting this all up for us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Proud. Glad to do it. Enjoyed it. So, yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap up. Appreciate everyone's attendance. Y'all have a great afternoon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
all
very much.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.